is Always Right Radio with Bob Frantz on AM 1420, The Answer.
All right, let us continue on. Hour number 3 now on AM 1420, The Answer. I just saw a stat that blew my mind about 26,172 times, because that's what bombs do. They blow things up. I was giving you a little bit before about some of the previous presidents using airstrikes, dropping bombs without declaring war on a particular country, but using limited targeted engagements without asking for congressional authority because they've never had to. But of course, now that President Trump struck Iran, oh my gosh, I mean, that's an unconstitutional abuse of power. I mean, the War Powers Act has to prevail here. Congress only can declare war. We're at war with Iran now because of one man's unilateral decision. Number one, we're not at war with Iran now. Number two, where were you during all of those other previous presidents? In particular now, where were you during the 8 years of Barack Obama? Do you know that Barack Obama dropped a grand total of 26,172 bombs on foreign countries without congressional authority? 12,192 in Syria, 12,095 in Iraq, 1,337 in Afghanistan, 496 in Libya, 35 in Yemen, 14 in Somalia, and 3 in Pakistan. Didn't ask for congressional approval for any one of those strikes. That's extraordinary. And that, of course, doesn't even count the pledge by other Democrats to do exactly that. You remember when Hillary Clinton wanted to be president in 2008? She lost to Barack Obama. She said if she gets to be president...
And I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. We will attack Iran. We will attack Iran. We will attack Iran. Whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. I'm
Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
How do we know that? Because, what was that word, obliterate, she used?
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Yeah, that's about the size of it. My gosh, the hypocrisy is so thick and so deep. Unbelievable. All right, we got a lot of things to get into here with our next guest. A.J. Rice is phenomenal. He's very entertaining. He's the president and CEO of Publius PR. He's the editor-in-chief of the Publius National Post on Substack and the author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, The Woking Dead, How Society's Vogue Virus Destroys Our Culture, as well as the White Privilege album. A.J. Rice, welcome back to AM 1420, The Answer here in Cleveland. How are you, good sir?
Doing good, my brother, doing good. Did World War III start yet? I must have missed it. Did it start?
Did
it start the 26,000 times Obama dropped bombs? How about when Reagan invaded Grenada? How about when the Falkland Islands were invaded by Thatcher? How about when he bombed Gaddafi's house and killed his children? I must have missed World War III when that happened. I must have missed it in 1794 when George Washington, as president, put on his freaking uniform with Alexander Hamilton, marched across Pennsylvania to put down a revolt called the Whiskey Rebellion by farmers that were mad that Hamilton, the Secretary of the Treasury, was taxing them to pay off the Revolutionary War debt. I must have missed it. Did that start World War III? Did that end the country? These things have been going on since the beginning. A lot of people are burned because of the George W. Bush years, because of Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, we never had to hang around and let these people vote. You know, you want to remove Saddam? You want to remove this one or that one? Fine. It's the hanging around for 20 years that upset people, right? Rebuilding roads and schools and this and that. But look, Trump cannot run his foreign policy through Twitter, which is basically like people writing on the bathroom wall, okay? And in some cases, in the handicap stall. Oh, wait, can I say that? And the reality is, he needs to take a 100-year view of what he's doing. He can't respond to every single little stupid comment from every pseudo-general out there on social media, right? So let's see what the Iranians do. They don't control any of their airspace. They're threatening to close the Straits of Hormuz, but they're not going to be able to pull that off either, unless they want to meet SEAL Team 6 when they go into the water. So, everyone needs to calm down a little bit. Trump fired missiles like a gangster, like Tony Soprano, like an OG into Syria during his first term when he was eating General Tso's chicken at Mar-a-Lago with Xi Jinping. He
right.
basically leaned over and said, "Hey, I just bombed Syria. Can you pass the mashed potatoes?"
AJ Rice is our guest. You know, the one guy you left out when you were just kind of running through that haphazardly, some of the previous ones, is the predecessor. Biden had airstrikes in Syria and Iraq, and in Yemen as well. And again, not one congressional authorization whatsoever. Relying on Article 2 powers.
History is littered with good and bad commander-in-chief. Some of them do dumb stuff like Black Hawk Down, Mogadishu stuff. Some of them, hit the enemy and then sit back and wait for them to make a move. You're not necessarily going to get the slippery slope every single time. And if you either voted for Donald Trump 3 times and believed him and believed that he would be more like Reagan and less like W, or you didn't. So, it's really a sort of a nut check for some of his supposed, supporters out there that are wearing the I Heart Mullahs t-shirt.
Well, you know what people hate, AJ, when you were talking about, Iraq and Afghanistan, is they hate ground wars. They hate the idea of sending Americans in American boots to go into foreign countries and lose their lives. It would spend all of our money and their blood. And I agree with that. Is there any indication whatsoever that what just happened in Iran with their nuclear? Remember, we didn't spill a drop of blood. Not one civilian, not one member of the Republican Guard. Nobody got hurt. This was solely the nuclear facilities. And people are thinking this means World War III, that we're going to have to bring. Did you see the USA Today? They ran a big piece about how Americans are fearful of the return of the draft, of the military draft, because Trump bombed Iran. They're going to come for our kids. Nonsense. Yes, exactly what it is, AJ. And they know that.
No boots on the ground. There isn't just 2 positions, okay? There's 32 teams in the NFL. It's not just, the Patriots and the Cowboys, okay? Really. And, they have said multiple times, no regime change, no boots on the ground. My position is to let Allah sort it out, because Allah will sort it out, right? If there's going to be boots on the ground, it's going to be Persian boots of the Iranian people removing their own regime. They've done it before. They can do it again. This isn't some backwater civilization. Persia goes back to Xerxes and Darius, Cyrus, the Old Testament, so on. Pre-Jewish, pre-Islamic, pre-Christian Syria. So they can work it out. The issue is, are you going to allow a country that runs off of Sharia law to have a bomb, a nuclear bomb? Now, somebody could say to me, well, Pakistan has a bomb. You're right. Bill Clinton allowed that to happen, right? Pakistan does have a bomb.
That's right.
Pakistan, however, is not being run right now by Sharia law. Does Pakistan having a bomb make me uncomfortable? Absolutely. They were harboring Osama bin Laden. Before Barack Obama went in there. I heard you ticking off those stats before we came in. You said there was 3 times where he hit Pakistan. Well, that's the time. The 3 times he hit Pakistan was when we sent the SEAL team in to go grab Osama bin Laden. And the reality here is that, unlike Iran, with Pakistan, India acts as a nuclear counterweight. So you have mutually assured destruction in play there. If you do this, I'm going to do that. If Iran and the mullahs get a nuclear weapon, what's going to stop the Saudis and everyone else from trying to go get one? You're going to have a really bad nuclear arms race in the Middle East, right? And that's the thing. All this talk about World War III. Trump's been president, 5-6 months? Every week I wake up that World War III is going to start. I heard World War III is going to start over Syria. There's a dictator in Syria. World War III is going to start over Israel on October 7th. World War III is going to start between India and Pakistan 3 weeks ago. And now today, World War III is going to start.
We're talking to AJ Rice. He is the president and CEO of Publius PR, the editor-in-chief of the Publius National Post on Substack. Highly recommend that you follow that and follow him as well. So, AJ...
let me say something else real quick, Bob.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pete Hegseth, Michael Wall, Tulsi Gabbard, and many others in the White House are all former clients of ours here at Publius PR, okay? I know these people. They are allowed to disagree with each other, but they serve at the pleasure of the president. And as of right now, and I know the media is puts these rumors out there and these garbage about who's in favor and who isn't. They have a job to do. And when people voted for Trump a 3rd time, they knew they were going to get a disruptor, okay? And that includes in foreign policy. So whether it's with Ukraine or Iran, that's what you're getting. You're getting a disruption because for 46 years, the mullahs of Iran have killed more Americans and more Western people than ISIS or Al-Qaeda ever dreamed of, right? They bombed the Marine barracks, the Achilles Billy, Laura. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I don't want to bore the audience with the history of radical Islam, the Shia variety. But the reality here is that you either trust Trump or you don't. You either think he's different than Dick Cheney or you don't.
That's exactly right, AJ, and great examples all the way through. I want to get to a couple other things with you before we go, though. This Iran thing obviously is the number one thing right now, but last week the number one thing was the LA riots, the No Kings protests, the nonsense, the insanity. They're planning another one for the 4th of. They're planning another one for the 4th of July. Another No Kings. They're planning another one for July 17th. I mean, they're all over the place here. They just want to get as many people in the streets as possible, making it look like there's this massive public and populist revolt against President Trump. What was your takeaway from what we saw last week?
Sure. I mean, look, 4th of July is our official No Kings Day. So,
but they're doing it differently. Yeah, they're not celebrating that.
We'll be out on Concord Bridge waiting for them. The reality is that you and your audience knows this is a bought and paid for artificial astroturf uprising. But Trump's not going to allow the Summer of Love Part 2 to happen, because the second things go absolutely sideways, he will once again seize the National Guard of whatever kook, mayor, governor is allowing for this to happen. The biggest state just got gelded. Gavin got gelded. Gelded Gavin, okay? He was out there, he was at a winery, he's doing a little wine, got a little Pinot Noir, right? The city's burning. Karen Bass is at some goofy wedding in Africa. The city's burning, right? She sends in the lesbian firefighters. They can't get the job done. Look, the reality here is if you, for the next 4 years, if you allow your state or your city to collapse, the federal government's coming. They're coming. You can file all the lawsuits you want, but they're coming.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I look at all of the violence and I look at all of the people who get hurt, tie that in now to the political violence. The murder of the the state legislator and her husband, and then the attempted murder of the other one. They took shots at Trump. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that. We continue to see more and more threats, huge threats made against people here in Ohio, as a matter of fact, state legislators in Ohio. Political violence tied to the rioting violence. It just seems, and I'm not saying it's 100%, but it's pretty damn close. It seems like it's all coming from the left. If they start to have their power threatened or their agenda threatened, AJ, they start shooting or they start committing other acts of violence. It seems like it's the only thing they know how to do.
Yeah, and over the last 150 days, they've showed us who they are too, right? They lifted up their skirt. You got 73 genders under there, but they basically have stood for the political violence you're talking about, the burning of L.A. They've stood for the IRS. They've stood for the shooting of healthcare executives on the street, right? They've stood for the burning of Tesla dealerships. They've stood for turning planes around filled with MS-13. They're showing you who they are, and the American people should believe them, and they should think about that in the midterm elections next year.
Well, I hope they do, because that's what this is all about. I mean, literally, President Trump has an agenda to pass that he was given a mandate to do. They're obstructing it with courts, this judicial coup. They couldn't beat him at the ballot box, so they said, fine, we're going to have our activists in robes beat him there and stop him there and run the clock out. And I hate the fact that we're almost at the end of June now, and we've got what's less than 17 months for the agenda to get passed. Otherwise, we lose in 2026.
Sure. They're going to get it done. Don't worry. Believe me, this man works. I don't know. He's got some other gear, the president, and look.
Well, he does, but there's 535 other people that have to figure that out.
Yeah, he'll get them in line. I mean, so far I don't have too many complaints about what Thun's doing. He'll whip the votes. Look, I live here in the swamp. I've been here for 21 years. I used to work on Capitol Hill. You're right. Every one of these people thinks they're a little, president of their little fiefdom, but they're going to get some of this agenda done. And the Democrats should keep their spokespeople out there. Like Jasmine, the Disney version of AOC, and they got Kilmar out of jail. They got Mahmoud out of jail. Now they need to get Luigi out of jail, and they can have like a little boy band, right? Send them around next year. They can be the face of the Democrat Party.
AJ Rice, AJ, I'm loving listening to you. I love following you. I hope other people do too. You only have a Twitter feed, not for you, just for Publius, right? Publius PR.
Yeah,
you have the X feed. Okay, and then you got the Substack, right?
Look, grab my books on Amazon, the White Privilege album and The Woking Dead, both #1 bestsellers, and hopefully next year Volume 3 will come out. I'll be back on tearing it up with you.
I'm looking forward to it, my friend. Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, sir.
AJ Rice, President and CEO of Publius PR. He's connected, and he's got his finger on the pulse, man. Very, very, very seriously. Both books, by the way. The White Privilege album is the most recent one. The Woking Dead: How Society's Vogue Virus Destroys Our Culture. I did a full podcast with AJ Rice. It was tremendous. He's a great guy to listen to, and I hope you enjoyed that. All right, we went back to back to back to back. 4 shots, 4 home runs as far as I'm concerned that we just had. I'm going to save the last segment for you. If I could read some of your emails, I can take some of your calls. What are your thoughts on this Iranian situation? The response that President Trump is getting. 216-901-0945. 888-281-1110. Emails bob@strictlyspeaking.org. The last segment is yours. Right back.